Alright, so the question of the day is, what are we going to be working on? We've got a 2012 Dodge Durango in the shop. It's got a 3.6 liter V6 engine. This particular one actually has a coolant leak. It's been pressurized somewhere else, and I've pressurized it here as well, and we found out that the water pump is leaking. So I want to show you step by step how to remove and replace the water pump on this 3.6 liter, as well as give you some small pointers on certain things, for example, where the bolts are, which bolt goes where, as well as an important tip on bleeding the coolant system. So I believe that's enough of me talking. Let's go ahead and jump into it and get this job done. Alright, so we've gone ahead and drained the antifreeze out of the bottom of the radiator. So I want to go ahead and show you basically where the water pump is located. The pulley that you're seeing right here is actually the water pump pulley. The water pump actually goes further down where you see the lower radiator hose neck. That's part of the water pump, as well as this heater hose pipe. It also travels up and goes right behind this vacuum pump up under this mount. I'm going to show you step by step how to get to everything, what you need to remove, and getting that water pump off. So let's go ahead and get started. Now if we're looking directly down from where the hood's open, looking directly down above the radiator, you'll see a little red item here. That's actually the radiator drain. It's a plastic screw-in drain that is, you can actually, most of the time it's just hand tight. If it is too tight, you can get a pair of pliers and just back it out. That's what we want to do. We want to go ahead and drain the antifreeze out, so that way we can kind of control where it's going until we unbolt everything and it just gushes everywhere. Right now we have the ability to control where we want it to flow. So we just reach down there, unscrew it, screw it back in once all the antifreeze is out. Just remember to screw it in. That way you don't have a problem with antifreeze pouring everywhere once you go to fill it back up. Now in order to get the serpentine belt off, we're going to have to release the tensioner. What we can use is any kind of 3/8 drive ratchet will work fine. There's a square hole in the end of it which is perfect for a 3/8 drive. In this case we're going to be turning counterclockwise. Go ahead and grab the belt, work it off. Now before you take it all the way off, one thing you can do if you don't have a service manual or remember which way the belt goes, you can go ahead and make a basic diagram of the pulleys and the routing of the belt, so when you go back with it you already know where it goes. Otherwise you could sit here for 30 minutes or so, have the belt on wrong, too short, too long, you end up fighting yourself in the end. So I'd recommend go ahead and making you a little diagram of where it's at, set it off to the side somewhere, and then go ahead and get the belt off. Alright, so I want to go ahead and get this lower pulley off directly below this vacuum pump, as well as the vacuum pump assembly. Vacuum pump assembly's got two 16mm bolts we need to take out, and the belt idler pulley has a 13mm. Here's your idler. Now you can get a little better image of where the water pump is located. This is actually it right here that I'm outlining with my hand. It goes down and comes back. You've got an assortment of bolts that hold everything together, some short, some long, and I'll walk you through on that as well. Now one thing I like to try to do, I always like to work smarter, not harder. I could sit here and take everything loose in this vacuum pump and sit it all on the ground, or I could just leave everything hooked up, pull it up, grab me a little bungee cord here, and hook it up on the wiper arm. Now it's out of my way. Didn't have to unhook nothing to it. Now I got access to what I need to. So I'm going to go ahead next, I'm going to go ahead and get this heater hose off, as well as that lower radiator hose off. Once I get those off, I have access to the bolts on the lower end, and I'll show you that. Now make sure you still got your catch pan up under the engine here, because even though we've drained that radiator, once we take this lower hose off, we're still going to get some coolant to come out. One place that's always going to want to stay in is the lower hose. Alright, so now we've got that out of the way. There's going to be a total of 12 bolts to hold this water pump to the timing cover. We've got a total of 10 millimeter bolts. We've also got one 16 millimeter as well as one 13 millimeter. So you've got 3 different sizes here. The 10s, there's going to be an assortment of short and long ones. The long ones will have a rubber spacer in there that you need to pay attention to and make sure you get it out and put it back in correctly. Let me go ahead and work on getting one of them out to show you. Alright, here's one of our longer bolts. Like I was showing you earlier, telling you earlier, there's a little rubber spacer, what do you want to call it, that's actually on the bolt. This one actually came out with it. All the long ones will have one of these. What you need to do is make sure that when you do take it out, see if it's already on the bolt. If it's not, you kind of need to put the bolt back in there and kind of work it. Usually what I do is just put the bolt at an angle and start kind of working it out, and the threads will actually grab it and slowly start pulling it. You might have to do it multiple times. Just make sure you keep track of these spacers.